Hello caffeine fiends and welcome to another coffee review for www.getbean.com. I'm Vince the Mean Bean Machine and today we're looking at Crankhouse Coffee's Nestor Lasso Finca El Diviso. So Crankhouse Coffee is... I don't know anything about them. I kind of stumbled across them online and they seem to do sort of more experimental, more hybrid coffees, more speciality. I know it's all speciality, don't come at me, you know what I mean, like micro lots and those things that are typically harder to find. So I was drawn in by that and their lovely packaging. I mean, look at this. So this is the Nestor El Lasso Finca El Diviso. It's not Nestor El Lasso, it's Nestor Lasso, like Ted Lasso's, Hispanic cousin. Anyway, so the roastery's in Devon, lovely part of the world, and they get in these kind of speciality, harder to find coffees, and this one in particular is from Huela in Colombia. Oh, I love Colombian coffee. I love it. But typically it has that kind of chocolatey, caramelly taste. And this one has some really interesting notes because of the way it's been produced. So it's been anaerobically fermented. So it's one of those kind of experimental fermentation processes. And it's taken on, hopefully, something a bit of a different flavour. The last few anaerobic things I've really enjoyed just because of how different they are. So I'm hoping for something a bit like that. So the coffee itself, like I say, it comes in this gorgeous bag, a lovely little kind of illustration of the roastery, cartoony, very bright, gloriously, like draws you in, but it also has all the information front and center, well not front and center, but at the front, easy to see. So you can see the name, you see the tasting notes there, you see the origin and the elevation, and then the process, anaerobic honey, variety, Sidra. So it's I love the packaging. The fact that it's recyclable is great. It gives you a little bit of info about the roastery on the back. And then it says, best within, it's got the contact details, blah, blah, blah. But the coffee also comes with this little information card. So it tells you all about it. And again, it's got those details, the same details that are on the front there, with the tasting notes and everything. But then it's got a bit about it. So this one, tells you about the exotic varieties that are grown in the region, including this Sidra. Sidra is a hybrid of bourbon and typica and offers a complex and delicate flavour characteristics. Hopefully I'll pick up on that. So it is a process of anaerobic fermentation in cherry. After depulping, we carry out a thermal shock to continue with an anaerobic fermentation. The hours of fermentation are 100 hours on average at a temperature of 16 degrees. So the sort of labour that goes into it sort of justifies how much money I've spent on this coffee. Because to get just the beans, 250 grams of beans, cost me $19.90 plus delivery. So I have paid over 20 quid for 250 grams of beans. They better be good. But I don't mind that when they tell you about the hours that's just put into the fermentation process. Then it's got to be dried, picked and processed within Colombia, shipped to the UK, to Devon of all places, to be roasted, and then shipped to me. So I don't mind that, but you sort of need that explanation of where that money is going, and I like that's there. Now, I've tried anaerobic things a couple of times before. The one that springs to mind is Babes Who Brew, and that was a really, really nice kind of experimental coffee, really nice. But it's quite fruity and quite different. So the tasting notes on this say Morello cherry, which is really intriguing because cherry is very sweet, very tart, but that morello cherry, suggests that very tart kind of biting acidity, which I should enjoy, to be honest. Then ripe kiwi, again, quite biting. I'm not a kiwi fan typically, but the acidity, good lord. The acidity should be quite bitey, but then underneath that it says hoppy, like a beer or a light beer, hoppy. So morello cherry, ripe kiwi and hoppy are all things I wouldn't. The cherry, yeah. The kiwi less so, because it's quite a soft, although it's got a biting acidity, it's quite a soft flavour. It's been years since I've had a kiwi. I don't particularly like them, but I'm trying to think back. And hoppy. So really interesting, and the process being anaerobic and honey is very interesting to me. So we'll see how it tastes. Now, typically, I have my espresso shot, my oat latte, and my water for between the two to cleanse the old palate. So let's have a sip of water to hydrate before I caffeinate. Lovely, lovely. Refreshing. And here goes with the espresso shot. So give it a sniff. There is a hoppiness to the smell, which is interesting. Not getting a lot of acidity from the smell alone. I must state, I've got a bit of a cold, so my smell and taste probably isn't going to be as prime as it usually is, but you can still smell there is a very hoppy smell, and then there is a slight acidity to the kind of end of it. You get a sort of acidic tone at the end, but that hoppiness is definitely coming through. So, chin chin, here goes. Well, not as acidic as I had first thought. That hoppiness is there, but it's not bitter. It's not like when you have your first beer, or if you're not used to drinking beer, you kind of get that light hoppy tone of like an IPA, and then there's a slight kind of bitterness that comes from the alcohol. Now, obviously, there's no alcohol in this, I assume, but you do get that light hoppiness, which is actually really pleasant because there's not that kind of bitterness that follows it. There's not a biting acidity, but there is a sweetness. So that sweet morello cherry is there. I'm not getting the kiwi particularly, but maybe that sort of plays down the acidity, which is interesting. Just those two notes, to my mind, kind of said acidic. You're going to get a bit of bite. It's not at all. The hoppiness is really nice, kind of light, hoppy, no bitterness, very smooth actually, and then just a slight tingle, a slight bite, a slight tingle, I will say, not a bite, but there's definitely a sharp sweetness. It doesn't clutch at you, but there is a brightness, I will say, not a sharpness, but a brightness, which is quite pleasant because you get this kind of light, almost floral tone, and then just a nice little bright of sugar. So yeah, cherry yes, hoppy yes, not particularly getting the kiwi. I guess there is something there as an afternote, a sort of softer something that is possibly the kiwi. Not acidic still, but there is a softness, a sort of refreshing. I guess that must be the kiwi, a sort of nice, refreshing sort of, a bit like cucumber water. It doesn't taste like cucumber water, but it's that refreshing sensation of, yeah? So I understand the kiwi note. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. You get me? But yeah, definitely getting the cherry, definitely getting the hoppy. So those are bang on. And as a espresso shot, not harsh at all. Anyone could drink that. Even a non-coffee drinker could have that espresso shot. As a black coffee, I bet that is fabulous. A bit longer, some nice hot water, and that cherry note. Just thinking about it actually sounds really nice. So let me cleanse the old palate and then we'll give it a go as an oat latte. So what am I expecting from the milkier drink? I would typically say that cherry note would be dialed back, but it's not. It's not the first note. It's not. So I think maybe the hoppiness is dialed back, which could allow the cherry to express itself a bit more. Whether that kiwi comes through more, so I don't know, because it's an aftertaste for me. So I think it might lose its edge on that. You know, lose a bit of that kind of refreshing, you know, sharpness. But will the milk kill it? I think it lends itself to a black coffee after that shot. So it'll be interesting to see how it balances out with the milk. Oh, interesting. That's really kind of nutty with the... I mean, that will partially be the oat milk, but there's almost a nuttiness to it, which is not mentioned in the notes at all. But there's a warm sort of... That kiwi really does come through, actually. And the cherry almost dies off completely. So that hoppiness stays almost level. And then the kiwi comes through, and it's almost like I'm not a drinker, I haven't drunk in years, but if you have like a specialist IPA or a limited edition IPA that has a sort of, not a flavour, not flavoured beer, because that's weird. Everyone knows flavoured beer is just weird. But if you went to like a beer festival, and I would expect this from like a specialist brewery that, again, brews in kind of micro batches. And if they said, yeah, this is our kiwi light hoppy IPA, you know, a flavour a bit like that. Maybe I'm thinking too much into this, but that kiwi note definitely comes through, and you suddenly go, oh, that's got that sort of tropical fruity vibe underneath a hoppiness. But the cherry's gone, which is very weird. Very pleasant, very pleasant. But if you like something sweeter, like a sharp sweetness or a bright sweetness, it is sweet. It's very sweet, but it's that kiwi sweet as opposed to cherry sweet, if you know what I mean. So not so sugary sweet, more, you know, grapey, berry sweet, rather than cherry sharp. But as a milky drink, it actually works, which is counterintuitive to what my brain thought with those tasting notes. That is really nice. In fact, there's almost a malty taste, and I guess that plays into the hoppiness. If you've ever had like a Malteser hot chocolate or hot malted milk sort of as a drink, not a beer malt, although malt is malt, but if you ever had like malt, if you ever had like hot chocolate and top it up with a bit of malt, you get almost like a Maltesery hot chocolate. But that hot malt is almost there, that malty flavour. That's really kind of a bit of a brain twister. It's I'm really enjoying it though. I really like it, which is good because I paid a lot of money for it. So I'm going to go away and think about it. Does it justify the money? Because it's certainly a good cup of coffee. Would I drink it every morning? I think I would, because it is delicious, but it's such a unique flavour. It's not something you'd kind of every morning. I feel it would take you by surprise if you go, here's a cup of coffee. What I will say about, and what I do tend to find about things that are anaerobically processed, of the like 3 or 4 I've had, is that they are so different in terms of coffees that I think you can offer them to people who aren't coffee drinkers, and they'll go, oh, that's a different cup of coffee, and that it will surprise them a little bit, which is what I like about it. Anyway, I'll go away, write up some notes, have some thoughts. In the meantime, do check us out at www.getbeamed.com. Hit the like and subscribe buttons, leave us comments, just interact and whatever. But yeah, I'm going to go away and think about it. See you in a bit. My final thoughts on the Nestor Lasso Finca El Diviso. Something different. It is actually a different coffee taste. If you're a regular coffee drinker, you will kind of pick up on the differences there because of the anaerobic process. So it is something different, but it's light with a very sweet cherry tone as an espresso, and that becomes far more hoppy as a milky drink, but it's a smooth hoppiness. There's no bitterness, and it's not particularly acidic. You would think with those kind of acidic tropical fruit notes, kiwi, cherry, you'd think there'd be a bit more bite, but it's not. It's a smooth yet slightly different coffee, and it is really pleasant, a bit malty, quite soothing and warming. So I have given it 4 stars. Now that is putting cost aside. Like, I have paid the best part of 25 quid to get it to my house, 19.90 for the coffee alone. And I as a specialty coffee drinker, this is the thing I spend my money on. Yeah, this is my regular treat, so I don't mind doing that once in a while. But if you're a regular coffee drinker, you are not spending that much money to get a cup of coffee. Or 250 grams is going to do you what? Let's say 10 cups of coffee. Probably not that. But it is a nice coffee, so I would recommend it if you are a specialty coffee drinker, and you can justify that price with the hours put in and the special processes. But I think the sheer price of it is going to put a lot of people off. So I've put the coffee aside for the 4-star rating. The price aside for that 4-star rating. But I think it deserves that 4-star rating. And yeah, really lovely coffee. If you can afford it, give it a go. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Do hit those like and subscribe buttons, and we'll see you all soon. Bye bye.